Hello. Yeah, I'm not gonna do an audio check. I'm gonna believe that the audio is working today. The first thing to jump right in. No, I mean I got stuff to do. So we're jumping right in. I was gonna go over a walk treadmill part of the stream, but I forgot. So now that's not happening. That would take time. If I had a room camera that's kind of pointed at the room, that would be fantastic. Um, and I could then do things like even leave for a bit, and people could see I'm still fumbling around, that the stream isn't completely empty. But anyway, I'm jumping right in. We have this issue. Our auto routing API is kind of red, fairly red. It's even more red than this, I would argue. And so, what we need to do is add better health checking, because it's not actually this auto routing API that's down. Is our free routing cluster. Our free routing cluster has gotten hung up. It's no longer routing jobs, and Fly doesn't know to restart it because it's reporting itself as healthy. So we're gonna fix it. We're gonna make it so that this server, after 9 days, I guess its memory has gone bad. We're gonna make it so that it can detect if it is unhealthy. We're gonna do that without really modifying free routing or figuring out how free routing works at all. We're literally just going to test it. We're gonna have a health check that runs a very simple auto routing job for this USB-C flashlight-esque device. And then if it's not able to route this, then we're gonna say, okay, it's borked, and we'll maybe run that check every 5 minutes, because uh, it's better to have really really good health checks in your system rather than fight the internals of applications, stuff like that. You just restart the server. Servers become unhealthy just on their own. Every server is gonna have weird things happen to it at some point. So it's better to just have really, really great validation. So that's what we're up to. Let me post a quick stream link so people know I am live. And then we will get started. Let the fun begin. A quick dev stream to fix the auto routing server. Most of TS Circuit, 90 to 95% of TS Circuit is open source. We're going to be looking at some semi open source or some closed source code today. Anything that my policy is sort of anything that deals with authentication. I keep closed source until it's had a proper audit. So being very, very young, trying to use best practices. We don't store passwords, for example, delegate that to third-party auth services and stuff. But I still think it's just a lot easier to not have that open source. So our auto routing cluster is part of an authenticated family of services. So we don't have it open source, but it is very simple. So happy to show the code on live stream. I just don't want to invite abuse. Okay, so the main thing we do is proxy to auto routing. I have sort of a server stood up here in front of auto routing. Right now, the health check just says, okay, you call /health, and we're just going to return okay. So that's not the worst health check. That does tell you if the proxy is active, but it could be a lot better. And it's funny, you get huge returns on having the most basic health check. So you have a very simple health check. You actually do get a huge amount of return because it's just good to know if something very basic is working. Surprisingly helpful. But we do want something more complicated now. So we're going to introduce this thing, health check upload. And what this will do, it will actually try to upload to the free routing server and upload a job and wait for it to fully route. And then it'll return, oh, it's working if it fully routes. And then we'll have a very, very robust health check that will catch this case in the future. So that's what we're up to. When you're using the free routing API, there are a ton of steps you have to do. The first is you have to create a profile. So we're going to execute all of these steps. You have to create a profile. That's like it's like more or less a user for the free routing server. You then have to create a session. You then have to create a job. You then have to upload to that job. You then have to start the job, get the job done. It should take about less than a second with how simple this board is. And after that, you're basically done. If the job gets to a completed state, we'll call it done. Okay, so we have to implement all of these steps. But before I do that, I think what would be useful is having a really, really good test fixture so that it's very easy to run this code and make sure it works. We're going to use, this repo being so simple, doesn't have any existing infrastructure for tests. So we're going to introduce that test infrastructure right now. Maybe if we get the chance, we can use some of Bun's new features. Bun just released to match inline snapshot. That's a really, really cool test feature. So we might be using that. Yeah, let's dive right in. So Git test server. This is basically a Git test server is a standard function in every test suite that we have at TS Circuit, and something I've been using for many years. You basically just return a server that you can ping against with this. Yo, Shiba, what up? How's it going? We're fixing the auto-routing cloud servers. They are broken. By the way, we upgraded our servers recently, and they're very, very fast. Yo, Anas, what up? How's it going? How's it going? I was recording a bunch of videos for Rashab, and then I transitioned into a live stream because I was like, all right, this is taking a while. What's the point? Yo, is that Absy? Yo, what up? What up, Absy? Damn, we got the whole gang. You guys are doing great work. Appreciate all the contributions despite midterms and whatnot. So appreciate you. We're kind of, I'm from New York, East Coast of the U.S., and on the West Coast there's different mannerisms and ways of acting. But when you go to the South of the U.S., people always remind you how much they appreciate you. It's a Southern warmness, one might say. So appreciate you. That's an expression they say a lot, at least from my adventures. So we're going to create this Git test server. There's two main things we need to do. We need to start this proxy. So this proxy isn't quite broken out where you can just kind of call it like a function. And its top level, it actually calls this serve thing. So we're going to break this out so that it can be called like it's going to be one of the first. Create a new directory. Lib here to do. Yeah, this is going to be, the stream is going to be more or less like, internal plumbing stuff, but, it might be interesting. You never know. Sometimes I record streams and, like months later, I reference the stream content. I'm like, okay, you want to know how the free routing system works? I can just point somebody to this dev. I actually kick myself for not uploading more of them to our proper blog. So, unfortunately, Substack doesn't have. I don't think Substack does. They say they do it, but it's like an iOS thing. It's like I don't want to go live on mobile. I want to go live on a desktop. I don't think they have a desktop. Substack. They probably know. They probably know what I would do. Because it kind of blows my mind how much. I don't think I pay Substack. So it kind of blows my mind how much they let me. Pretty incredible. Great service. Anyway, okay, so we've got this proxy file now. And what we want to do, they have a function start proxy server. This process.onSigint doesn't make a ton of sense. And we don't want console.logging either. And we also don't want static ports. But let's just not worry about that for now because it's kind of annoying to set that all up. One thing, looking at this, this proxy, when you run it, it expects free routing to be running somewhere locally. And that's achieved inside the Docker file because we have an entry point that runs the jar for free routing. Free routing is a Java program, as well as running the proxy. We will have to adapt it. But anyway, for our test server, just kind of slowly making progress here. That's going to be an important part of starting our test server during the process. One thing that's kind of annoying is it's returning these long paths. So basically in any project, the one consistent modification, psconfig, add base URL and paths so that you can import directly from lib. I also like to add tests there because importing a test fixture that can also clean up your. So now we've got this nice absolute import. And for some reason, this convention isn't popular in the TypeScript world to do lib. A lot of people like to use this kind of at thing. And I do not see the point in that. I don't get it. I don't think it makes sense. I don't even think a source directory necessarily makes sense. Why, like the whole thing, it's a GitHub repo. The whole thing is source code. Why have a source directory? Just get to the point, just put the code up. Your top level directories, lib tests, that makes perfect sense. There's no reason to bury it in source. It also creates this question, like this unnecessary tension of, are tests part of source code? And many people would say yes, and some. Why even have the debate to begin with? Okay, get test server. We're going to start the proxy server, and then usually you want to return a URL to your proxy server. That's all statically coded, so we can do this for now. It's a good idea to return like an Axios instance or something that's already bound to this, because otherwise your consumer for the get test server is going to have to create that client itself. So let's see, what should we forget? I think I'm using KY recently, trying to shift from Axios to KY, right? KY. Just a very, very small, it's like Axios. I still like Axios a lot. We'll add that as a development dependency testing. Still like Axios a lot because it has some very, very advanced features that nobody else seems to have. For example, request middleware. But we'll try this out. So we want to use KY, and then we want to create for the server URL here. Oops. URL. And then we can or KY. Okay, so we've got this create method, prefix URL. The thing that bugs me about KY is when you're show this in a second, but it's got some quirks that Axios doesn't have. We can even set that timeout to like 10,000. We don't want our requests and tests to run slow. If they run slow, there's some kind of issue. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We're gonna want to dynamically create ports, but while we're only running one test, it's not gonna be a problem. So let's create a health.test file. This is always for an API project. The first test I'm gonna create is an API.test.ts file. By the way, if anybody has PRs, I think there was a PR I wanted to review a minute ago. So I will be review. Say, send me. Yeah, Anas sent me a PR breakout headers. So let's do a quick review. I'll interrupt whatever I'm doing for reviews. That way you can get reviewed quickly as possible. This is a little bit random for a width, It's like I would actually just require it in this case. So maybe just this. There isn't an obvious best value. At the same time, I know Shiba was talking about, okay, we should always have a default. So maybe that's okay for now, but I have mixed feelings about it. But Shiba did want there to always be a default so that previews look kind of good. But yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Get height, return 51. Okay. Yeah, I mean, for defaults, you just remember, if these defaults actually make it into a lot of apps, to change this later, or a lot of circuits, to change it later is going to cause problems. So normally you want to be pretty strict so that people can't mess it up. Routes. Okay, this is for, what is this for? Silk screen. If it's silk screen, it's not going to break anything, but I can't actually tell here. Plated holes, get triangle direction. Outer diameter, triangle. I don't know what the hell is going on here. I don't know why it's outer diameter times 0.4. Shouldn't this be the pitch? Right. Breakout headers. If right. Grams left. Okay, so it's saying, how do I handle each side? Outer diameter times 1.4. Are you using that as a substitute for pitch? Why offset? Why offset? Shouldn't this be pitch? Get triangle there, unless I don't understand. What is get? I think it's just a very confusing method name. Oh, and it's not in a file somewhere. Get triangle dir. What is this? Triangle height, triangle width. Why the hell are we talking about triangles? What? It's half. Oh my gosh, is this the... This doesn't return a direction. But it sounds like it returns triangle direction. Get path with parameters better. Okay, so like named parameters a lot of times can clarify things. You're returning a path right now. But what is routes? What is this? Like triangle width, like you're returning routes. Why are there... A triangle is 3 points. Why are there 4? Oh, the fourth is the closing. But then why? What's this left, right? Oh, okay. I think I get it. This is for the pin 1 arrow. Sorry, delayed stream. You're like getting slammed over here. I think get triangle path is a better name, and then named parameters will help clarify it. It's pretty good otherwise, but like it's, we were just talking about with the linter, the two parameter rule. If you go over 2 parameters, you want to refactor it. I'm going to get slowly more strict about it. I mean, you can see in code reviews, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Also, that function seems like something that's probably reusable, so probably moving to a utility direct. Okay. Okay, so plated hole. Yeah, plated hole is another example of like this method. Like, it's super hard to understand what these different parameters are. I think it started with like XY, so it just grew out of control, and now it's really hard to understand what these different parameters. I think this one is I think this is the number, the X, the Y, but imagine how much easier it would be to read if it just was X colon. Like the perfect syntax exists there. Um, okay, so the other thing is this is a pretty bad name. Routes or get triangle. Like the naming here is pretty confusing, right? What like are these are silkscreen routes, right? Yeah, it's the routes for the silkscreen triangle. You could literally just say silkscreen like pin one indicator route or something like that. And that would be clear. But this is in context super unclear what that route says. I thought it might be the outside of the chip, something like that. All of that's going to increase the code maintainability. Um, yeah, other than that, seems okay. Yep, that's good. These defaults aren't good for the inner diameter and outer diameter because that like I know because I've ordered some boards now that you could not actually manufacture them. Like it wouldn't be able to solder. I ordered a board that was just like that. I could not solder it. Also, silkscreen reference type. Yeah, that's fine. So silkscreen, I'm actually usually with silkscreen, I don't care too much about the dimensions. Like I'm gonna be way more crazy about the plated holes because if you change it later, you'll break a ton of already manufactured design. Um, in some cases, with silkscreen, you'll never break anything. If you change silkscreen, you're not gonna break anybody's. So silkscreen, I'm usually not gonna be too anal about, but I like inner diameter, outer diameter. Yeah, I think this is bad. I think this outer diameter is supposed to be 1.5, I want to say. Look for some reference components to see what the... Could be wrong in other... Yeah, it's 1 and 1.5. Yeah. At 1.2, I immediately noticed. Although it looks like there's a bug here. It looks like this ratio, this derived ratio is wrong. So this should probably also be fixed. It's a good task for Devin. Or why didn't it copy that? It was like the whole... I'm actually kind of blown away it didn't copy. Hey. Very good, Devin. I wish I could assign Devin. Devin people, are you watching? I could assign Devin. In like... Five is correct. Recommended. Here. That. I'm gonna message the cognition team really quickly and say, okay, but let's throw this over to Devin. great example of like bad pattern propagation. When you have a bad pattern in the code base, even named parameters, we didn't enforce two parameter rules. You can just see when code gets copied or moved around or referenced, or even AI uses it as a reference. Um, those bugs tend to shift around. I'm just gonna put minor name. I think this one I think this one's pretty good. I don't mean to be too anal about names, but I know that nobody historically people just don't go back and fix things. One of my biggest gripes is like I almost want to have a tracker that says like, "Hey, I mentioned this. I approved, but I mentioned this. Did you actually go back and fix it?" And I would literally like to keep track of that because it's so rare and uh people just hate doing it. They want to work on new features and stuff like that. But anyway, I have an internal track of it in my head, and if somebody is really good about going back, I always kind of like I'll be very eager. Or if I approve but leave comments and they actually fix it, I'll like leave it in my head, and then they get approvals easier, right? And it just like um because people don't go back and fix. Some people do, most people don't. Okay. So we're gonna do basic health check. Devin has started work on our issue, I think. Devin's going away doing it. That should be a really easy one. I love Devin for those really, really simple ones. So hopefully it works. Okay. So this should already pass. This is starting up our basic proxy server doing our lame health check. So we'll go ahead and run this, see if it works. Yeah, input. This is my biggest issue with KY is you can't start with a slash with your prefix URLs. I want to patch KY so that they just. Uh, okay, true status. Okay, yeah. Okay, okay. So that very basic health check works. That's awesome. All right, so we've already made an improvement on this entire project by making sure it has a test suite. Very basic test. We want to run a more sophisticated health check, so we'll do that in a second. I think Fly runs our servers. Fly has their own data centers. They run our servers. They actually have support for multiple health checks. So we might try to implement this in a Fly conventional way and actually configure that auto routing health check in seems like maybe a more appropriate place. That might simplify it rather than having to have our own internal clocks or whatever. I will definitely. I guess I'll give that a try. Might as well. Um, okay, so we've got our basic test. Maybe we quick. Okay, so basic health. So now let's add that more sophisticated health check. So we can do, say, if path name equals slash health slash say health check slash health check, keeping the extremely, yeah, this works. Okay. So we're gonna handle this new endpoint, and what we're gonna do inside of here is health check result, health check upload, and yeah, what do we want to do here? Let's define what this health check upload. Find that as okay. Okay, Boolean start. Say if health check result Okay. This. I kind of don't like how complicated this line is, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. Re-stringify that because it's a long line. Don't need status 200. Cheat. Not okay. We're going to return. We'll actually probably want to return some results of that. Actually, this. It's pretty clean. Then we'll add a test for that. Health check. Health check. This is a Ruby style test organization, which like only good thing out of Ruby. I joke, but only a little bit. Ruby is a little. Ruby is a great language, but I need that sync love. Needs more async love. Great language. Sometimes I wish Ruby had taken over a little bit more. Kind of like, I don't know, the whole Rails thing. Kind of a bad general bashy. I wouldn't have mind writing. I would prefer writing Ruby over Shell. I'd prefer to write TypeScript over. So health get health check. Well, and this should still work. Yeah, so still passing. Health check. That's mostly because we're not actually doing anything yet. We do have our test set up. Test setup. Okay, Devin has completed our little ratio. Devin is basically like edit from GitHub, but I don't have to worry about doing the effort. Testing, getting formatting right. Sound keep on breaking. Yeah, I think I've also picked up that like my webcam is not like fully in sync. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what I can do, but it's very strange. I haven't had this issue. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really know what to do. It's so strange. Are other people having that issue with sound breaking? Whoops. Oh, I do have some filters on my mic here. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know I had filters on. The filters could be causing an issue. I've turned up my sensitivity on my mic. It was the mic position. Oh, interesting. Okay. I've tried to max out the mic thing because I think I have a noise gate and a compressor on at the software level on this OBS. So basically, like, yeah. Okay, so let's turn. I don't want to adjust these filters on the fly. I'm gonna turn them off, which will probably make me pretty loud. I don't know. Does this sound better? I think they're off. Hello, hello. So it should break a little bit less now. It's more likely to cap is what could happen now, but it should break a little bit less often. Yeah, I had a little bit too much fun with the audio filters apparently. Might be. Yeah, all good now. Yeah. I'll have to play with that. A lot of editing programs, they give you a really, really good view of your audio filters, and OBS doesn't. Embedded programming on TypeScript? No, it is not. Actually, that is the most common misconception about TS Circuit. We're not doing embedded programming. We're doing circuit board layout. So circuit board design and layout. So you can generate schematics. You can generate PCBs. You can actually assemble and order these things. But the embedded programming is still not something we touch yet. We will touch the embedded programming, but we don't yet. We have to be creating enough boards daily. I want to be able to create one board a day, and then we will work on the embedded programming side. The embedded programming side is what the code you actually run on the microcontroller. So we don't do that yet. Right now, our auto routing server is broken. So we're implementing a health check, which is quite arduous. I'm going to implement this whole thing with AI. So yeah, are we ready for that? I think we're ready for that. So normally how I would do this is upload a doc to this project and then ask Aider to write the code. We could do that, or we could use Claude directly because this is a pretty simple one. But basically, we have to execute all these steps. It's going to take friggin' forever. Here's something we can do. Let's see. I want to check the Docker file real quick because I don't know. Yeah, we copy this over. So we currently don't install dependencies on production. We just use Bun native. So I think I'll stick with that. I don't love it though. Should I do dependency installation? Because I kind of want to use KY. Decisions. I don't know how much I want to mess with the Docker file right now. So if we wanted to do this, we would do copy package JSON, and then we would copy bun.lockb. So if we copy these three things, we should be able to do bun install. Technically, we should do frozen lock file, but oh, do we have to copy the lib? I guess we should also copy the lib, yeah, because that's in use now. What design patterns are you using? I don't know, man. The book on design patterns was written before the age of TypeScript. I don't know if there's a good... There probably is, but I don't know if there's a good book on design patterns, software design patterns for structurally typed languages. I would love to work on embedded programming. Sounds interesting. It's super fun. It's super, super fun. So, but it's like one step at a time. We can't boil the ocean. But it's super fun. I mean, that's like programming your keyboard and stuff like that. It's super, super fun. It's also like the stuff you have to do is never that hard, I think, unless you're doing computer vision. You're never doing anything that hard. Okay, so health checks using upload. So yeah, we can try to do this the right way. Do I want to do it the right way? I think I want to do it. I think I want to do this as quick as possible. So we're gonna use Claude. But for what it's worth, it probably would be slightly better for me to do it the right way with a docs directory. So most of our projects have docs directories, and AI can use that, but I'm going to use Claude directly. So finish the health check file. Something that bugs me is it's going to use fetch. Fetch is so friggin' verbose. So I'm not super excited that it's going to be using fetch. I would rather it use KY, which is a lot less verbose. It's going to be a lot less lines of code. Oh, we are actually, yeah, I just configured it to do dependency installation. So we can do that now. Okay, so I'm going to move KY to a production dependency. And then to kind of signal to the AI that it's allowed to use KY, I'm going to do import KY from KY. And then I'm also going to do, or we'll say default KY, because we're going to do const KY equals default KY create prefix URL. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we've signaled to the AI that it should use KY. Okay, so please implement the full upload health check. Can it generate a netlist for simulation? You know, we do generate netlists. If you want to see the list of formats you can download in, just click on any circuit and then go to download, and you can see all the different formats we support. So 3D model. Actually, I think 3D model is broken. Even though we render the 3D models, I think it's actually broken right now. If somebody wants to work on the download 3D model, I'm pretty sure that needs a little bit of work. I think the KeyCat is pretty rough too. The KeyCat stuff, I haven't tested that in a while, but everything else works. Fabrication files definitely works because we actually order things. I love that answer with TypeScript. Do you even need design patterns? Just throw interfaces everywhere. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely, you definitely need design patterns, but they're different, right? So like one of the patterns we use, I'm trying to think where this is defined. We have a code style document, and we have this pattern called the context passing pattern. So this app context is basically like a, you know, or it's basically like a very nice structural typing pattern, because a lot of things easily fulfill this app context. Maybe there's a reference to the database in there or something like that. But you know, I can't even, this person on YouTube with characters in their name, they're like a face or whatever, responding to you, can it generate a netlist? We generate netlists internally. We don't currently have the download button for that. I might make a quick issue for that. That takes like 5 minutes to do, because we already have all the code for it. But for somebody who knows where to look, but I have been doing some work on this lately for NG Spice. There's a guy, a guy at the University of Edinburgh, I believe, who I've been working on possibly doing Spice simulations with TS Circuit. So we are working on, we do want netlists. It's we already do it. We just don't allow downloading it. So yeah, I don't know. I would probably bounty that, but I'm not sure somebody could figure it out because it's a multi-repo issue. All right, where are we at? Oh, you know, actually, hold on. This netlist thing is kind of bugging me now. Circuit. Let's just look up netlist. Do we have anything? Circuit JSON to Spice. Yeah, to NG Spice compatible netlist. That's what you would want, right? NG Spice compatible netlist. We just started this. The issue, so I literally started this and then I reached out to Dr. Chitness because he did EE Circuit, and we started working on making sure that we could actually test the netlist with Spice. But you don't actually need to test the netlist with Spice. You more or less need to do a syntax check to get it like minimally working. If you guys haven't heard of EE Circuit by Dr. Chitness, it is this program which looks not too impressive when you just look at it, but actually this is a full circuit definition up here. It's a full schematic definition, and he's running the simulation down here. So, yeah, I mean, you know, for what it's worth, I'm deeply, deeply interested in getting simulation working. So we could do this. It honestly is such a quick project, and it adds so much value. I'd be down to maybe do some of that today. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah. So we'll see. I might do a little bit of that later, because yeah, it is pretty important. Please implement the full upload health check. Okay. We need to tell it how the free routing API works. So what we're going to do is we have a project called Free Routing CLI that has everything implemented, and luckily it's all in a single file. So this actually gives it kind of the full instructions for how the free routing API works. I can copy that out, paste it, hopefully, paste. What am I, dumb? Copy, paste. What are you, broken? Oh, it's down here. All right. And hopefully it'll implement this health check for us, and we can get through this pretty quickly and fix the auto routing API in prod. Okay, so there it goes, doing all of our stuff. I don't know if we need those details. Yeah, I mostly care about the error. I don't really care about the other stuff. Okay. Cool. Okay. Details. We'll leave it in for now, but okay. So let's run our test, and this should actually fail because we're not running the free routing server in the background. Yeah. Okay. Request failed with 500 internal server error. But it's not showing us the error message. So let's actually try to get out that error message. But I don't know how to do this with KY. So we'll say catch E. So this pattern of catch EE makes this request sometimes an error, sometimes the JSON. Okay, so now we have a little bit more information, maybe. I don't think request fail, but I'm catching it. I think maybe what's happening is the server itself is I don't know. It looks like it's also getting to the 2 code. So I don't know. Maybe we're just not seeing my log line. I don't know where my log line is. Response. Response 5. Okay. So apparently the error doesn't stringify well. That's what it looks like. What is this? Okay, so that works. We're going to convert the response to JSON. And then we can see error unable to connect. Is the computer able to access the URL? So that's correct. We're not using the we're not running free routing. So normally what we would do is we would run a fake free routing server. But in the spirit of getting this done as quickly as possible, I'm actually going to use our internal cluster. So instead of having this prefix URL be this, which is appropriate, we'll use our free routing cluster URL, which I'm struggling to remember. Something like that. I don't know. We'll see if it can contact that. Request kind of seems like it might be working out. Okay. Yeah, I do think that that's the right URL. So let's see. So profile ID, health check. Let's see what's going on here. I'm going to stand. Okay, request failed with 500 status code post sessions create. So it does not like the part where we create sessions, but it's not giving us a lot of data. as to why it's failing. But it does look like it's this line. Let's look at the CLI code, how it does it. So session/create. It's also, oh, you know what? I just realized we're testing the failing cluster. If the cluster is already failing, maybe. Oh, but you know what else? It doesn't have v1 there. Oh no, it does. v1 sessions create. Yeah. So this should probably work. Oh, what am I looking at? Sessions create, get headers, and then you have your profile ID and your host, environment host. I think we have both of those. Free routing environment host, profile ID. Oh, this has to be a UUID. The other, yeah, I wonder if we want to use a consistent UUID for this. But that's null UUID, so I'm just gonna add 1 to it because sometimes all zeros is considered null. Okay, we got a little further maybe. Undefined is not an object. e.response.json. So we'll say, we'll do this. And if that doesn't work, we'll say e dot. Let's make this async. And then we'll say, okay, false. Error is e dot response dot text, maybe. Error is undefined. Slowly decomposing. Request timed out. Okay. That's running so quickly, though. That is a very short timeout on it. I think it's because I set this timeout here to be really low, but we're actually testing a production server. So I'm going to increase that timeout because this test actually will take like 30 seconds to run. So actually, I'm going to give a decent amount of time to that. Something that's annoying is we don't have a lot of output in our logs here other than the timeout. So let's fix that. We're going to import the debug module. So debug module is a really, really great way to add debugging to projects. So we'll add that debug module. And we'll also add the types for it so we don't get this type error. So the debug module kind of lets you like sort of like have debug lines only when you want them. So what is the server? The server is called internal free routing. So we'll say internal free routing, and then I'll just include the name of the method. I think that's a pretty nice way to do it. So health check using upload. And then we can add a bunch of debug lines. And if Kai supports it, we might want to do, let's see if we can do this. So add a middleware that logs every request using debug. So we'll see if we can do that. That would be awesome to see every request. Oh, look at that. Pretty good. Okay, so this should give us some more information for debugging. I'm going to assume that that's not a real error. I have to export the debug line that I want. So there's a lot of ways to use debug. You can provide different things to see multiple functions, for example, but I'm going to keep it very, very simple. And then we'll test it, and now we can see everything we're sending. So it looks like we queued the job, and we were actually just waiting on the job, so nothing really went wrong yet, per se. But we passed a 5-second timeout, so where's that? somewhere in here is a 5-second timeout. Max attempts 30. We pull every 30 seconds. Okay. Pretty solid code. It's better than code I would write, honestly. I would keep it very simple. I actually like that retry there. Okay, received response, headers, status. You know what's funny? In that received response, it's giving me everything except the thing I want, which is the body. But the bodies do get quite big. Let's do this. Let's like make this a little bit cleaner. I like this this very particular style of doing debug. Yeah. Request method. Or what is it? Let's see. Yeah, it's like okay. So yeah, box, whatever. Yeah, and that's kind of enough, you know? Don't need to get too fancy with it. Short and sweet makes it way more readable. Okay, so we're sending a request out. Okay. Let's see what it looks like with our revised kind of thing here. Okay. So we can see we're just kind of waiting for that job to respond, and then we get a timeout while waiting for it to respond. We can add more debug lines to actually see the content of that job here. So we can do debug. And I like to just do an object sometimes, but we could do job. Yeah. We'll say got job, and then we'll give some. We're not going to paste the whole object to kind of keep it fairly useful. Okay. I don't see. Oh yeah, status undefined. Okay, so we're getting status undefined all over the place. So we might actually need to at least temporarily log the entire job. Whoops. The annoying thing about debug is the lines are pretty long. This kind of prefix. All right, so it looks like status should be in there. Status. Oh, it's state. I'm surprised it messed this up, actually. Almost makes me think the CLI has a bug. So got job status. We'll do state, job status.state. The words status and state are used in terrible ways. I think status should always be the string descriptor. I'm just going to call that job for now. I think that makes way more sense. Okay, so we are correctly getting it now. Details, final job status complete. So according to this health check, our cluster is working. Our production cluster is working. We got an error on that test there, but it's only because there was some unexpected part of the payload with some details, which we'll fix. But according to that check, we are working. So let's see if we're actually working. This uses the cloud auto router. So we're just waiting on that response. And we'll open up the network panel to also see what's going on there in a second. But doesn't seem to actually be working. Not so sure about that. Let's open up the USB-C flashlight. And we're going to say auto router equals auto cloud. So it uses the cloud auto router here. And we can see it's also hanging. Oh, no. It actually finished. So we got it to finish here. I think it didn't route this USB line, but I think that's a known issue. Something we did a little while ago broke this, I think. Something with the USB-C port. We might be able to fix this right now. Let's see. VBus1 net VBus. Is that the issue? This pin is called VBus1. Oh, I think I know what's going on here. We have to connect both VBus1 and VBus2 to our net VBus. That is the bug. So let's do that. Let's see if we can get it to route. Yeah, there we go. Now we've got this line here. That was the trace we wanted. So that seems to be working. This one's not going to ground either. LED pin 2. So we might have the same issue with ground where we have 2 grounds. Is that right? Yeah, we have ground 1, ground 2. Yeah, you got it. I did it without your help, Absy. That's right. So, oh yeah. Actually, it's even giving me a type error. It says ground doesn't exist. So ground 1, and then we'll also do ground 2 is equal to net that ground. So this is just an unfortunate sort of current bug. There's also grounds over here. I don't know why it's not routing. These ones are also called ground 1 and ground 2. So I don't really know what's going on there. It looks like we don't handle those multi-labels very well. So pretty confusing behavior, but this should still work because those are ground. So this should route and light up the LED and whatnot. I will save that. Make this example circuit just a tiny bit better. For some reason, the unsaved changes is just hovering there, keeping us paranoid. Okay, so the auto cloud is working for the USB-C flashlight, but it's not working for larger circuits that it was previously working for. So if we open up the motor driver, it's still not gonna route, probably. It seemed like we were waiting a while for this and it didn't route. So I don't think this one is going to route. It's not being picked up. I want to say in the past, this has taken, basically no time at all. It's executed very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, it is working. Okay. So, yeah, this kind of makes sense because our status page has indicated that it's been flaky, not completely not working, but certainly flaky. So let's continue with this health check. Let's execute this health check. Put this into production, and now we have a test. If it can't route a USB-C flashlight, then the server will be restarted. So should be good news. I don't think those details are very important, so I'm going to remove details from the payload. And this should get the test to pass, assuming our server's still healthy. Nice, so it's passing. We're going to uncomment our prefix URL there and have it use localhost. So now this will fail because we don't run it locally. But you can actually start your own free routing server locally. Little known fact with free routing server start, if you have Docker. I'm not running Docker currently, so let me start Docker. But we can do a quick local test. And that's it for the bulk of this. The other thing we need to do, I might do it in 2 steps. We should make sure that this can build and deploy. So maybe I'll just very quickly build this Docker container to make sure that this Docker container builds. Simultaneously, I'm going to do free routing server start. Okay, so we have now started our free routing server, so we should be able to run our test against our local free routing server. And it works. Okay, so we ran free routing server locally and it works. I think we have some weird, I don't know what this is, like we have like response somewhere. Yeah, that's not supposed to be there. Okay. So nice. So assuming that Docker container builds and it looks like it's building, we're basically good to go on this. So yeah, health check with routing test. So okay, so that's good. But we're not quite done yet. We also need to adapt our fly.toml to have this alternate health check. So we are going to in the toml syntax, if you have 2 square brackets, you're creating an array. So we just add to this array like that. And then we're going to add this path, protocol, blah, blah, blah. The interval, we're going to run this less often. We'll run this every 2 minutes, let's say, but just because it's a little bit more intense. We're going to be queuing literally, every 2 minutes you'll be queuing 30 jobs an hour at that rate. So if we did it at a lower, it would be even higher. So, we want to be somewhat cautious that we're taking up server time with that. Grace period, we'll say 60 seconds. Timeout, we're going to give this a really long timeout in case the server is running a bit slow. We don't, maybe 30, maybe 20. Okay. Yeah, and then we're good to go. So let's check it out. Add additional health check to fly configuration. So this is going to auto deploy when I push to main. And this isn't a public repo, so pushing to main is still a thing that happens. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. By the way, I'm approaching my minor personal milestone, 10,000 contributions. For me to get in the past year, for me to hit 10,000 contributions in 2024, I have to. Good night, Absi. Thanks for stopping by. I have to get 700 in the next 10 days or something. So it's quite a lot. Yeah, that's almost 100 contributions a day. That can mean reviews, issues, commits. So it's looking unlikely. I might miss this, but certainly a big incentive to get a bunch of stuff done. I haven't done so well. I wish I had planned on doing this a little bit sooner, but I just noticed the other day that it was possible. Unfortunately, my rate is 40 a day generally. I don't even know if I've ever broken 100. So yeah. And it's even worse than this. It's even more than 100 a day because all of this entire week is going to drop off the grid, right? Last year's December is going to drop off the grid. So I basically lose these and I have to make them up over here. So realistically, I probably need 1,000 contributions in the next 10 days to be able to hit 10,000. It seems pretty unlikely as of now. Let's check the status on that deployment. Okay, so it's deploying. Lots of logs. It's doing our health checks, which hopefully work. It'll be very sad if the health checks don't work. So one of two checks is working. So the other check, the check that's not working, is presumably our new check, since the other check is so simple. And that could be for a lot of reasons. Maybe the dependency installation didn't go well. So we can go to live logs and try to figure out if there's anything obvious. Okay, looks like Fly wants to do a little update on the command line program before it shows me anything good. Okay, so these are our health. Okay, so your health check has failed. Your app is not responding properly. It's still executing other health checks. But it looks like one of them failed. We don't really have a good logged reason why it failed. So we might want to add that to our logs. Just figure out what's failing. So let's go ahead and do that. We can also add add an environment variable debug. Okay, so yeah, we can add this environment variable which will log anything related to debugging, which is great. Not always something you want to do on production, but I think it's fine in this case. Let's see, what else can we do to improve debuggability? I think the proxy... Oh, what happened to this file? Oh, interesting. I deleted this file, but I never repopulated it. So it's kind of crazy. Okay. Hold on. Start. No. Oh, cursor. Okay, lib/proxy. We're going to start our proxy server. So we accidentally disabled the actual starting of our proxy server. That's crazy that even... Okay, so we'll push that up let's add one other thing just to debug. Our health check result is always going to return, so we can add this to our debug health check result. Health check using upload result, and then we can add all that good stuff here. Okay, so we'll redeploy that. That's going to take a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and we should have a little bit of a better sense why our health check is failing. Although it seems like we weren't even starting the proxy, so of course stuff wasn't going to work. So very surprised. Yeah, it said we timeout reached, so it didn't even end up deploying. So hopefully that was a 0 downtime deploy, because it realized it couldn't do the health check, so it wasn't even going to try to start. Trying to see if there's anything interesting over here with the snippet CLI. We have a lot of issues to do over here. Yeah. The main one I'm interested in is the manual editing PCB. So the browser should be able to edit the manual edits.json file. So I'll be doing a little bit of that today, as well as maybe the spice stuff. We'll see. Let's check on our deploy. We got another failure to deploy. Okay, failed to update, unrecoverable error, appears to be crashing. Okay, so a good way to start with debugging these things is to actually build the container that flies using locally. It's really easy to build, really fast. And then just run it locally and make sure that... Okay, and right away we see cannot find module lib/proxy. So Bun probably doesn't know how to resolve that because we're not copying over the tsconfig. So super, super easy bug to fix. We're just copy the tsconfig over. And then we'll rebuild. Whoops. Oops. What did I do? Oh, I hit it. Docker build. And then we'll run that again. We're not even going to expose any ports. We're just checking to see if it can run. And now we can see it starting. So yeah, that was the issue. So copy tsconfig. If you structure your Docker file properly, in the best order, you'll always get really, really fast builds. So that's what we've done in this case. It's not perfect actually. You can use multiple images, a multi-stage Docker file to optimize it even further. Because right now we build off of a free routing image that doesn't change very often, then a package installation image for our bun dependencies that changes less often. More optimization could be there, but we don't need it. All right, hopefully it deploys this time. Nice. All right, so we've deployed, and so we should be able. We can actually check on prod that health check. So we can go to /health check / health check using upload. And we actually get an error. Is the computer unable to access the URL? Okay. I don't know if that's an old instance. It's taking a little longer to run now. So maybe second tries the charm. Maybe we hit the old machine because Fly will cycle through your machines. And we can see the autorouter is running, and we can see we got an okay response for the health check. So the health check is running, our new health check. And that's it. So we should see a little bit more variability now to the free routing cluster because it was a false positive. All these greens were a little bit of a false positive, and the real quality of it was somewhat indicated by these red things. But it's going to restart so fast now that we still won't see very many. To get it fully green, we'll introduce multiple machines later. But that's the main thing I wanted to do on stream. So I'll probably call it there. I'm gonna come online a little bit later and do schematic drag and drop. We're gonna do some work on the CLI, so you don't have to use the web browser to edit snippets, and then we might work on some of that spice stuff too. Thanks for joining, and if you want to follow along, I'm on every platform basically, but I would highly recommend subscribing to our blog.tscircuit.com. We're going to have some big product updates as well as sort of an end of year kind of wrap up pretty soon. We did some pretty crazy things this year, so definitely follow along if you're interested in any of that.